night is dark and full of theories.
What if Jaime Lannister was reborn with all his memories? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The courtyard of Riverrun is a mess of bodies. Frey and Lannister men lying on the ground. Jaime looks down at the bodies of his aunt and uncle, eyes filling with tears. All his efforts to try and make the taking of Riverrun a bloodless affair had been for nothing. After a command from Lady Stoneheart, the Brotherhood without banners drag him to a scaffold above the gates. Jaime stiffens as Lem Lemoncloak puts the noose around his neck. Closing his eyes, Jaime waits to be pushed off the wall. Something kicks him into the open air, oblivion taking him. 10-year-old Jaime wakes up from the latest dream of being hanged at Riverrun, checking both his hands to make sure they were intact. Sighing in relief, he hugs himself and gets out of bed. He'd been dreaming about this for a long time, along with the words that Tyrion had spat at him after admitting he'd killed Joffrey. Thinking of that had made him keep his distance from Cersei, knowing that she didn't really care about him. The next morning, Jaime knocks on his father's door. Once Tywin allows him inside, Jaime sits down across from his father as the Lord of Casterly Rock looks down on him with his gold-flecked eyes.
Father, I've been thinking. I think there's actually a girl I'd like you to propose a marriage to.
Well, I'm glad you're taking initiative, son. Who?
Catelyn Tully. She's pretty, smart, and loyal. I'd like to marry someone like that.
And how do you know that, Jaime? To my knowledge, you've never been to Riverrun.
I listen to the gossip and I keep track of things. I also think she's a good match, considering that she's the daughter of Lord Hoster, and therefore a prized marriage likely to become a high commodity. Brandon Stark, for one, or Robert Baratheon.
All right. I'll send the Raven to Riverrun. And I'm proud of you, son. You're doing as you should.
Jaime beams at being praised by his father, knowing the fate that awaits him. Hopefully, if he married Catelyn, then he could avert most, if not all, of what had happened to him, like being a Kingsguard to Aerys, being scorned as the Kingslayer, Tysha, the War of the Five Kings, Joffrey and Tywin being killed by Tyrion, losing his hand, and worst of all, being hanged by Lady Stoneheart. Maybe now he could prevent all that.
Also, I know what your plan for Duskendale is. Don't let Barristan Selmy try to rescue Aerys.
Wait. How did you know? Have you been spying on me?
It's not really that important. But I will say I know things, including the fact that Aerys will send Stefan to the Free Cities to find a wife for Rhaegar, then die in a shipwreck. I know that Rhaegar will then marry Elia because he doesn't want to marry his son to a servant.
Are you saying you can see the future?
Somewhat. If those things come to pass, you'll know that I'm right. Sound fair?
All right. If those things come true, I'll ask for more information. You may go now.
The next day, he's shipped off to Riverrun, and when he arrives, Catelyn sees the handsome golden-haired Lannister and is smitten by him. Jaime finds that without the captor and captive relationship and no pressure of having her daughters being held as hostages, that he likes Catelyn. She's not as beautiful as Cersei, but he actually likes being around her in a way that Cersei never provided. Whatever remains of Jaime's residual feelings for Cersei as he finds someone just as passionate as he is, who he knows won't betray him. One person not pleased to see him getting close to Catelyn is Peter Baelish, who sees him as competition. However, knowing what kind of man Baelish will become, Jaime actually tries befriending him. His efforts are met with little success, however, and after a few years, Baelish challenges him to a duel. Irritated that he's going to have to do this, he accepts the challenge, though he makes sure Catelyn isn't there, so when he dies, she won't beg for his life. When Peter falls to the ground, Jaime has his body sent back to the Fingers. After a few years, and being knighted by Arthur Dayne, the day comes when they're to be married, and Jaime decides to talk with his future wife about his secret.
Cat, I've got something to tell you. It's important.
What is it? Do you want to confess something to me before we get married?
It's nothing like that. I actually want you to be my partner in a secret that I've never shared with anyone else. It's something I've kept close to my chest since I was a small boy, and it's the reason I asked my father to set up this betrothal.
Oh, really? And what is this secret? Why did you want to marry me?
Because I've seen a future for you and me that I wished to prevent. Ever since I was a young boy, I've been able to see visions of what was going to happen. It's funny, you were originally going to wed Brandon Stark of Winterfell, but I wanted to shift the events. I also knew what kind of woman you were, how loyal, good, and intelligent you were. I wanted to be married to a lady with those qualities.
Jaime, that might be the sweetest thing anybody has ever said to me. Can you tell me what all happens?
Jaime lays out all of the events that he's seen, omitting his relationship with Cersei. Catelyn's eyes widen when he tells her about Brendan and Rickard's fates, then the fates of Ned, her sons and daughters, though the worst of it is when he tells her of her ultimate fate at the Red Wedding, and then her resurrection as Lady Stoneheart, ending with him being hanged from the walls of Riverrun. When he finishes, she takes his hand and squeezes it.
So, you're trying to save me and keep your promise from your past life. That's very romantic, honestly.
I guess you could say that, but I also would prefer not to be captured and then lose a hand because of what happens.
Well, I don't think you'll have to worry about my son beating you, since he'll be our son.
When eventually they get married in the Great Hall of Casterly Rock, Jaime finds himself actually happy as he makes his vows across from his pretty red-haired wife. As the feast starts to get more rowdy, Catelyn initially expects the betting to happen, but Jaime raises a hand to forestall it.
My lords, I'm very sorry to disappoint you, but the only person who's going to see my wife's naked body is me. Likewise to you, ladies. It's for my wife only. Again, I'm very sorry, but I'd rather not break a man's jaw on my wedding night. Bad luck and all that. Anyway, I'm going to abscond with my beautiful wife, and you can come up with all of the ribald filthy jokes you can think of to shout at us through the door.
Despite herself, Catelyn sags into her chair in relief before Jaime takes her hand and leads her out into the hall to their rooms. When they enter, both are excited, but Cat puts her hand on Jaime's chest.
I just wanted to ask, was there another woman that you loved and chose not to be with?
Well, yes, there was. I thought she loved me, but it turned out that she just wanted to use me for her selfish desires. I was her toy not to do with as she pleased, and I only found out shortly before I died that she had a few lovers on the side as well, and that broke my heart. I want to be with someone I know is going to be loyal to the end.
Smiling, Catelyn presses her lips against Jaime's, then turns around and pulls her hair out of the way so she can unbutton her dress. The next few weeks, Jaime and Catelyn take every opportunity to sneak away to be alone together, going to less traveled areas of the rock, swimming in the ocean outside of the rock, and even going into the hills in search of secluded caves. Remembering the infrequency of how often he could be with Cersei, Jaime finds himself enjoying being with Cat as often as he wants, and that she wants him just as much as he wants her. Within a few months, Catelyn runs out into the practice yard to loudly announce to Jaime that she's pregnant. Jaime drops his sword and runs to his wife, swinging her around and around. He can actually be a father this time. He doesn't have to be distant from his children. When a pair of twins are born, a girl with golden hair named Anya, the other a boy with red hair named Tythos, Jaime holds the babes in his arms and rocks them. Being able to actually hold his children and claim them as his own makes him inordinately happy. As they get older, Jaime finds that he likes being a father and enjoys teaching his son and daughter to walk. For herself, Catelyn loves having a husband who's so attentive to her, often slipping away from his duties to ask her to go to a secluded area of the rock, and every time he slips away to be with her, Catelyn often feels as giddy as the first day they got married. Jaime also involves Catelyn in administrating the rock, giving her quite a bit of responsibilities. He finds that Catelyn is very capable at running the household, as well as being able to be a bookkeeper, helping to track the loans given out to the various houses across the Seven Kingdoms. Soon the Defiance of Duskendale takes place, with Rhaegar and Tywin leading the siege together. After threats are exchanged, Tywin prepares to assault the city.
We cannot risk the king's life, Lord Tywin. Let me go into the city to rescue him.
No, sir. We assault at dawn. But the king may die. He may or may not. Either way, we have a better king here. So Barristan, we shall risk it.
At dawn, Tywin storms the castle. In desperation, Lord Darkland kills Aerys and flees. A fortnight later, Rhaegar is crowned. As a sign of goodwill, Rhaegar agrees to marry Cersei in order to please Tywin. Now that he has confirmation about what his son was saying, Tywin sends for Jaime.
So, you can see the future, and you gave me the tools to ensure our family's fortune. Good work. Now, what other information do you have? Well, now that Rhaegar is king, it will likely be different now. Much of what I saw was contingent on Aerys. But there are a few things still in play that may throw the realm into chaos.
Such as?
Based on my visions, Rhaegar may steal away Lyanna Stark, whether for love or some other reason. It happened at a tourney at Harrenhal, which was likely a ploy to unseat Aerys, but he ended up coming. Now that he's dead, that may not happen.
So we must keep Rhaegar away from this Lyanna Stark at all costs.
Indeed. I'd actually start talking with the Starks. In the previous timeline, when they came against us, we nearly lost. And even after we beat them, there's still loyal pockets of resistance. I'd rather have them on our side.
It's unfortunate that your lack-wit grandfather married Jenna to that stoat Emmond Frey. Otherwise, we could wed her to one of the Stark boys.
Fair, but what if we put in a betrothal between Brandon Stark's children and mine after he weds? Who that will be, I don't know. Perhaps Lysa Tully, or maybe he marries a northern girl. It depends on whether or not Rickard Stark plays the same game he did last time.
Over the next few years, Tywin and Jaime carefully work to build ties with the Starks, as well as strengthen them with Rhaegar. They also work to build ties with the Reach at Jaime's suggestion. Tywin feels secure enough in their position to build their power. Slowly, Jaime starts to relax as the realm seems to cement itself into a long peace. Cersei gives birth to 3 healthy children, Jason, Balon, and Joanna. Their mix of silver, gold, and blonde hair give them a striking appearance. However, all isn't quite right. Rhaegar seems to grow more and more distant to his wife, and barely spends time with his children, instead obsessing about prophecies and other such mysteries. Cersei tries to pull him away from his studies to spend time with, but Rhaegar barely notices her advances. Jaime and Tywin instead rule the realm in tandem, while Kevan manages the Rock. Eventually, the day comes when Tyrion meets Tysha. Remembering that she'd been chased by bandits, Jaime can't bring himself to not prevent that. However, he quickly rides back to the pair and sits down with them in the inn to hear Tysha's story. When he sees the look in Tyrion's eyes as he stares at the crofter's daughter, Jaime knows that he has to stop this.
All right, Tyrion. We should head back to the Rock.
But Jaime, I'd like to stay and talk with her.
Tyrion, let's go. Now.
Casually, Jaime puts a large bag of coins that he'd filled specifically for today and puts it in front of Tysha. However, she barely looks at the gold, instead staring at Tyrion with a longing expression. To Jaime's chagrin, Tyrion continues to be smitten with the girl, asking if she could maybe be brought to the Rock. Jaime advises him not to get attached, that their father would not approve, but Tyrion doesn't care. He's in love, and young men in love don't care. So, when he vanishes from the Rock, Jaime buries his head in his hands.
No. He's run off with the crofter's girl.
Surely Lord Tywin will simply let him run off with the girl. He barely gives Tyrion a second thought.
No, Cat. My father will do something terrible to both of them when he finds out. I need to find them before he finds out.
Not wanting to waste any time, Jaime sends out men to find his brother. However, he orders them not to bring them back, but instead to tell them where they are. Eventually, they find the pair in a cottage by the sea. Once he gets the news, Jaime rides to the cottage and pushes open the door to reveal the two at the midday meal.
Tyrion, what were you thinking?
Jaime, I love her, and she loves me. Please, just let me have some happiness.
Father is going to be furious. He's going to hurt you and her.
What? Why?
Because he thinks that all she'd want is our gold.
She gave me back the gold you gave her. She just wants me, Jaime. Please, can't you just let us disappear?
As he looks down at the two lovers, Jaime can't help but remember what Tywin had done to the two of them. Sighing, Jaime is determined to do the right thing this time. Rather than bring Tyrion back to the Rock, he sends them up to the north along with a letter recommending him to the services of Rickard Stark, laying out his administration skills. Once they are gone, Jaime heaves a sigh of relief. Tyrion would be safe from his father, and the dwarf wouldn't be the cause of his father's death. When Tyrion finds out about his son marrying a commoner, he's furious, even more so when Jaime informs him that he sent Tyrion and Tysha north.
You've made your own brother into an exile in the cold north as a clerk with a common whore as his wife.
Don't pretend like you care about Tyrion, father. I won't let you abuse him, and now that he's in the north, he won't embarrass you any further.
Fine. At least he's out of the way. Why didn't you prevent this with your visions?
I tried, but Tyrion still loved her.
That's not love. That's being in heat, and you should have corrected that. You've disappointed me, Jaime.
Grimacing in irritation, Jaime stalks out of his father's office. When he sits down in their rooms, Catelyn sees his anger and strokes his arm. Staring out at the sea, Jaime wonders if he could have done more to try and prevent this, making it so that Tywin still respects him.
Are you alright? What's wrong?
It's just... I tried to stop it, But Tyrion fell in love with the girl anyway, and now my father isn't going to trust me. Everything was just going so well. Now it's falling apart.
You couldn't have known he'd slip away. Can you know what would have happened if you didn't send Tyrion away that was so terrible?
I don't want to talk about it. Please, don't make me say it, Kat. It was one of my greatest shames in my life, and it led to Tyrion killing my father.
That was another you, and you've stopped it anyway, so you can tell me.
He gave her to his guards and forced Tyrion to watch.
No. How could he do such a thing?
My father loathes Tyrion and feels no compunctions about doing things to him.
Catelyn embraces Jaime, holding him close. Jaime is initially surprised, then he leans into the hug. Finally, Catelyn looks up into his eyes, then kisses him.
You've shown me your quality, the very highest.
All of Jaime's doubts about whether he'd done the right thing vanish. All he can think of is the look in Catelyn's eyes when she looks at him, as if he's a hero from a story. Nobody had ever looked at him like that, in his previous life or this one, saving perhaps Tyrion. Definitely not Cersei. Then years go on, and the Lannister and Targaryen children grow up together. Tythos, Balon, and Jason often spar together, and Joanna spends a great deal of her time with Anya. Cersei often looks envious at Jaime and Catelyn, mostly because she wishes that she had a passionate marriage and equal partnership like theirs. Often Catelyn sits in on the small council meetings with Jaime, offering her input, which is often accepted. When it's over, they both leave together, chatting about anything and everything as if they're a courting couple. Jaime is also careful to ensure that Rhaegar doesn't go near the north until Lyanna Stark is married to Robert. After that, he deliberately volunteers as the king's emissary to Storm's End, rather than allowing Rhaegar to get close to Lyanna. When he does go, he sees that Lyanna is clearly unhappy in her marriage to Robert. He might be faithful to her, but there's a mismatch of personalities, since they're both free spirits. Well, at least they're alive and not likely to die. One night, on a trip to Harrenhal, Jaime rests inside one of the burned-out castle's rooms. When he does, he sees a vision, this time of the Isle of Faces, and in them, the body of a boy whose birth he'd thought he'd averted.
Jaime Lannister, you feckless imbecile. Bran Stark, I thought you didn't think. You never think. I sent you back with your memories after Stoneheart hanged you so that you could do some good work. You could have simply just gotten rid of Aerys, put Rhaegar on the throne, but no. You, the man who pushed me out a window, just had to marry my mother, separate Rhaegar from Lyanna, and overall create a mess of things, so I now have to improvise. Do you have any idea how frustrating that is for me? Wait, what? I don't understand. No, you don't. None of you people seem to understand. Every single time you throw things off and I have to try and make do with what I have. Why do I continuously have to deal with this? Alright, let's discuss this. Why did you send my memories back? Because I thought that out of all people in Westeros, you would be primed and ample motivated to actually create a positive scenario where Westeros isn't torn by war for when the long night comes. The long night? That's a myth. Spare me, please. I don't have time for this. You've had the memories of a previous version of yourself stuffed into your head since you were a child, and you're talking with a boy that by all accounts has a very low chance of being born. Now, shall we dispense with your inane prostrations and actually have a productive conversation?
Jaime slowly nods, and Bran rubs his temples. He hated having to deal with stubborn people who threw off his plans, and dealing with Jaime Lannister in particular was a singularly painful experience. However, since Jaime had thoroughly thrown off his plan, he was left with very few options.
So, you've been watching me and your mother? Just curious. What are you talking about? I don't know. It would just be rather awkward. She was your mother, and I believe she was most fond of you, after all. I hate you so much. Well, currently the feeling is mutual, Bran. Fine. What's this all about? There's an ancient foe coming from beyond the wall. The White Walkers and their minions are gathering for war. I need you to have King Rhaegar gather your forces in the north to ensure that we are ready for when the army of the dead comes south. All right. Well, at least Rhaegar will believe anything. Small mercies indeed. You have a year, Jaime. I don't believe you'll succeed, but I wouldn't be opposed to you proving me wrong. You're a rather petty person, you know that, right? Yes. It's the little things that make my interminable existence dealing with you people somewhat bearable. Like watching you get your hand chopped off over and over. It's quite cathartic. I take it back. You're not petty. There's something deeply wrong with you, Bran Stark. You're one to talk, Kingslayer. By the way, when you get to the wall, ask to borrow the Lord Commander's Valyrian steel sword, Longclaw. You'll need it. Valyrian steel and dragonglass are the only things that can kill White Walkers.
With that, the dream ends, and Jaime immediately gets dressed and rides back to King's Landing. When he arrives, Jaime rushes to see King Rhaegar. The king looks up from his books as Jaime enters, eyes confused.
So, Jaime, what is it? You look harried. Well, Your Grace, during my visit to Harrenhal, I saw something rather troubling. A prophecy about a danger to the realm from beyond the wall. We need to prepare. Finally, someone who believes me. So, Jaime, tell me everything. It's not much. Only that in a year the enemy will come from the north. We need to fortify the wall and put troops there for when the army comes south. We should also bring the wildlings south and integrate them into the Seven Kingdoms, so that the army of the dead cannot recruit them. I'll draw up the orders immediately. Your brother is in Winterfell, so perhaps he can help Lord Rickard see the wisdom of this course.
After sending letters to the rest of the Seven Kingdoms, requesting them to send troops north to the wall as enlisted soldiers without taking vows, Rhaegar and Jaime travel to Winterfell. When the king himself and Jaime arrive in Winterfell, Rickard is initially excited until they tell him why they're there.
You want me to let wildlings through the wall because you think White Walkers are coming against us in a year? Are you mad? Probably, but there's something coming this way that will likely be death of everyone and everything. However, you can utilize them to make the gift more productive, along with the rest of the unmanned areas of the north. That's going to be a tough sell to the Umbers and several other of my bannermen. However, if we can bring them to the areas around Winterfell, then we might be able to mitigate things. I will require them to promise to learn farming and not to raid us, either for women or crops. That's a fair condition, Lord Rickard. We shall ensure that they agree to these terms before coming south. We also have several veterans coming up from the Reach and the Westerlands to train and outfit them. Good. Let's get going.
Before they leave, Jaime says hello to Tyrion and Tysha, who already have 3 children together. Jaime actually finds himself a little misty-eyed when he meets them. Doubly so when he's introduced to a boy named after him. Tyrion and his wife seem happy, safe from Tywin's ire. When they arrive at Castle Black and request to go beyond the wall and borrow his sword, Lord Commander Mormont groans and puts his head in his hands.
Are you all barking mad? Let the bloody wildlings through the wall's insanity. And here I thought you were the one of the normal ones, Your Grace. And borrowing my family's sword to take it with you on your harebrained scheme. Absurd.
It's either allow them through the wall or add them to the army of the dead. We need to do this, Lord Commander. I can simply dissolve the Night's Watch as it stands, or replace you with a Lord Commander who sees reason.
Your Grace, I'm a Northman. Northmen hate wildlings, with good reason. If those bastards come south in large numbers, what do you say they won't start raiding and plundering?
We can offer them asylum, under the condition that they live according to the King's peace.
Good luck with that. They're stubborn and won't easily capitulate. However, if you prove to them that you're stronger than them, at least man to man, they might come over to you.
Well, it's a good thing that we have 2 of the best duelists in the Seven Kingdoms going north.
As I said, you're both mad. So Jaime, why do you need my sword?
Because I want something that can allow me to actually kill a White Walker.
Can you promise me that I'm not going to see it in the hands of some damned wildling raider?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Fine. But I'm coming with you. I want to at least keep an eye on that sword.
After a few days, Rhaegar and Jaime, accompanied by the Kingsguard, ride to where the larger wildling settlements are according to maps of the area that they'd taken from Castle Black. Finally, they arrive at a large village where Tormund Giantsbane has taken up residence. The big wildling chieftain looks to Rhaegar and Jaime up and down, skeptically, then takes a bite of a large carrot.
So, what are you 2 pretty fuckers doing up here in the north? I'm here to offer the wildlings safe passage beyond the wall in preparation for the coming storm. We know the White Walkers are going to wake in 2 years, and we're going to let anybody who wishes to come south to pass into the lands near Winterfell, as well as the gift.
By all the gods, that's a deal we've been fighting for since the wall was raised. But how do we know you'll keep your word? You Southerners are slippery folk. You often promise to let us through the wall like what happened when we joined with the King of Winter to drive the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch into the lands of always winter.
Well, we were thinking if you wish to test your mettle, we have a context of champions. Your best man against ours. What do you say?
Now this I can get behind. I'll fight you, Golden Lion. Give me a real sword and we'll hash it out.
On the following morning, Jaime and Tormund square off, the grizzled wildling versus the Golden Lion. In a flash, the two men engage in a furious duel. Tormund is very experienced, while Jaime has raw talent. Back and forth, the two men duel, until finally the larger man overswings, and Jaime knocks his enemy's sword out of his hand. Tormund looks down at the fallen weapon, then at Jaime.
Do you yield?
Tormund smacks the sword aside and tackles Jaime to the ground, then starts pounding him in the face. Jaime lifts his arm to protect himself, then grabs some dirt and throws it into Tormund's face. The wildling yells as dirt gets caught in his eye. Growling, Jaime pushes Tormund off him, only to have the wildling slam his fist into his face, causing him to stagger. Both men grapple with each other, savagely punching and kicking whatever part of their opponent is within reach. Eventually, Jaime brings his fist into Tormund's side, then jabs his elbow into his opponent's skull. Gasping, Tormund's grip loosens, then Jaime pushes his enemy backward onto his back and places a knife to his throat.
Yield or die. Your choice. Fine. I yield.
The next few months are spent gathering all of the free folk to go south. Some of them come through simple negotiation, but often Rhaegar or Jaime have to engage in single combat with the various chieftains in order to get them to follow. The hardest one is Magnar Then, but Rhaegar's blade puts an end to him after a furious duel. Eventually, they reach the Fist of the First Men with their large host, only to be met by a figure clad in the black cloak of the Night's Watchman atop a large elk.
King Rhaegar, I need you to come with me. There is someone who wishes to see you.
Who are you?
Once a member of the Night's Watch, now a servant of the last Greenseer. Come, it is important that you see my master.
When they enter Bloodraven's cave, the ancient Targaryen bastard looks toward Rhaegar with his single red eye. Rhaegar immediately bows to the ancient creature, as does Jaime. After a curious examination, the last Greenseer breaks the silence with his croaking voice.
Welcome, Rhaegar. I'm pleased to see you here. It is a happy chance that you have come to see me after all these years. I had expected you to have been dead for the past 15 years, but the actions of your champion have thwarted that.
What are you talking about?
Sir Jaime has been touched by my own tutor, the Three-Eyed Crow. He is a man living a second life, with many of the memories of his past life. And like many who have experienced great misfortunes, he has attempted to avert the future he saw for himself.
Jaime, could you explain what he means? Well, I have been dreaming about my future ever since I was a boy, and I didn't like most of what happened, especially when it came to your father. Many things were going to happen because of him, things that I would rather not come to pass. Such as, well, my lover betrays me with several other men. I witnessed your father murdering innocent men and hear him hurt your mother. And after discovering the depths of my father's capacity for cruelty to my brother Tyrion, he murders him, and I'm hanged by the revived corpse of a lady whose daughters I failed to protect. Oh, that is rather a lot of things. I'm not surprised you to try to avert that future. Were you the one to suggest that my father refused to send Sir Barristan to Duskendale? Yes, that was me. Honestly, you did the realm a service there. It's actually the second time I killed your father, though this time I wasn't called Kingslayer. You'll have to tell me all about it. I'm morbidly curious.
I do apologize for interrupting, but we do need to discuss some matters of import. By taking the wildlings south of the wall, you are going to break the pact between humans and the White Walkers. They will come south in force once they find that their sacrifices have been taken. You will need to bring your armies north quickly, or else they will wash over the land.
All right. How much time do we have? We were told 2 years, and it's only been half of that time.
I do not know if that timeline would hold true or not. However, what I can tell you is that if you defeat their progenitor, the Night King, then the bond animating the dead will break, and you will be able to defeat them. Before you depart, take the sword from the roots. It is past time that House Targaryen receive one of its blades back. Also, there is a bundle of dragon glass knives, spearheads, and arrows distributed among the wildlings. One thing I will warn you about. The realm must be united to defeat the dead. Otherwise, you will be overwhelmed.
Rhaegar grabs Darksister and belts it to his waist, then he and Jaime leave. As they travel, Rhaegar has Jaime tell him the full story of what he's seen in his visions. after hearing about what happened with the Mad King if he survived Duskendale, from burning men alive to assaulting Riella, and finally preparing to destroy all of King's Landing with wildfire, Rhaegar can't find any words.
I had no idea of the true depths of my father's depravity. Why didn't you tell me before now? Because I didn't feel it was necessary. He was dead, and you were at least somewhat happy with my sister, who I am fairly sure would be faithful to you. I honestly don't really care if she is or not. I only married her to placate your father. Well, she loves you. She's been infatuated with you for whatever reason. Just keep her away from politics. She's quite inept. I noticed. You've married rather well by comparison. You and Lady Catelyn seem infatuated with each other, even after over a decade and a half of marriage. Were you too close in your previous life? Actually, no. She married Eddard Stark after his brother died. And then, after a series of rather unfortunate events, I was captured by her son, then released by her in the hopes of exchanging me for her daughters. It ended up not really working out, and she died along with her son. That doesn't make sense to me. Why would you marry the lady whose son held you prisoner? Well, the woman I wanted in my previous life didn't actually love me back. Oh, she gave herself to me, but she didn't actually love me. She just wanted to possess me. With Kat, I saw a woman who was unshakable in her loyalty, was a passionate soul like me, and would be someone I could actually start a family with. And I was right. It's only one of the reasons why I'm thankful for these memories, because if I didn't, she would have been engaged to Brendan Stark, and I'd be engaged to her sister. Lady Lysa isn't so bad. Not the Lady Lysa you know. The one I knew was totally insane. I'll take your word for it.
North of the wall, the Night King begins to stir. You can feel the free folk leaving, and with them the possibility of replenishing the ranks of his race. Slowly, he rises to his feet and waves his hand toward the sleeping White Walkers. Among them is his most faithful servant, the one who had once served as the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, now bound in servitude to him for all time. The Corpse Lord bows to his master, his wolfskin cloak billowing in the cold breeze. All across the north, the corpses of long-dead animals rise up to heed the call of the undead warg. A storm rises up as the depths of the cold north sweeps over the free folk fleeing southward. The women and children start crying out in fear, and the men start running toward the rear of the column. Rhaegar and Jaime glance at each other, then Rhaegar draws his sword. Grunting, Jorah hands Jaime Longclaw with a sour expression on his face.
You're a better swordsman than me, Jaime. I want it back, though.
Jaime straps the sword to his belt and draws his weapon. He'd never held Valyrian steel before losing his hand, and now he got to appreciate it, being able to use it for the fullest capacity. Experimentally, he swings Longclaw through the air and grins at the feel of the sword.
How much to buy this sword?
More gold than your shitting father can afford, Sir Jaime.
Jaime, we need to go to the rear. The storm is closing in on us. Sir Arthur, Sir Geralt, take command of defending the free folk.
Jaime sheathes Longclaw and rides next to Rhaegar toward the rear of the column. Out of the storm, a host of corpses charge with grim silence towards the wildlings. Within their ranks are several White Walkers, their faces set in expressions of terrible determination. Jaime draws Longclaw as Rhaegar hefts Dark Sister, quickly dismounting from their horses to allow them to be used by others who will have greater need of them. However, as they move to defend the rear, the sides come under attack from hordes of undead animals. Many of them are set on fire by the free folks' torches, but slowly they break through the defenders and start slaughtering the wildlings. Yelling defiantly, Jaime and Rhaegar charge into the enemy, torches in one hand and Valyrian's steel swords in the other. The White Walkers stride towards to meet the two champions, only to be shattered when either Longclaw or Dark Sister cuts through them. Many of the dead fall, but the White Walkers retreat backward. But then a figure wearing a wolfskin cloak walks through the dead, raising a pair of icy blades.
I've been waiting for a suitable challenge for many long millennia. It seems as though I've found two worthy of my skill. Will you face me?
2-on-1. That's hardly fair.
I, for you.
With a smile, the Corpse Lord charges forward, blade swinging. Jaime and Rhaegar hold him off, but this creature is inhumanly fast and strong. Grunting with effort, the two men slowly retreat backward, trying to strike a lucky blow, but the Corpse Lord evades and counterattacks each strike. Finally, in the distance, they hear loud horn calls coming from the direction of the wall. Thousands of horsemen carrying the direwolf of House Stark ride through the driving snow into the army of the dead. Supported by the Stark cavalry, the wildlings rush toward the wall, abandoning their carts and other belongings to be able to gain some extra speed. With the additional help, Jaime and Rhaegar are able to retreat. The Corpse Lord laughs and fades back into the army of the dead, even as more and more wights advance toward the living. After several days of fighting, the column arrives at the wall and quickly passes through. Rhaegar and Jaime remain at the back, along with Arthur Dayne, only going behind the wall once they're sure everyone is safe. To get a view of what's happened, Jaime and Rhaegar take the lift up to the top. When they see the devastation caused by the undead army, both men are frozen with similar expressions of horror on their faces. Tens of thousands of wildlings lay dead in the snow. Men, women, and children had been slaughtered like cattle. And in the center of the dead stands the Corpse Lord, his blue eyes laughing up at them with cruel amusement. Casually, the traitorous Lord Commander of the Night's Watch raises his arms and causes the dead to rise.
You cannot defeat me, King Rhaegar. My army is too strong for you, and neither you nor your pet lying can best me man to man. I hope you are ready for the onslaught that is to come. We will turn the whole of humanity into our thralls as repayment for breaking the pact. Savor your final days, for winter has truly come for you.
Laughing, the Corpse Lord jumps onto his horse and rides away. Jaime and Rhaegar exchange looks, then they run to the lift. Among the dead is the old bear, causing Jaime a pang of guilt. He'd only come because Jaime had asked for his sword, and now he was gone. Rickard walks up to Rhaegar and salutes him.
You were right, Your Grace. I'm sorry I doubted you. Quite all right, Rickard. How many men have you gathered? Roughly 40,000. Only a quarter of that came with me beyond the wall. What about the reinforcements from the other kingdoms? Lord Manderley sent word that Robert Baratheon and Jon Arryn are bringing their men to Eastwatch, and a raven has arrived from the Shadow Tower with news of Lord Tywin and Randyll Tarly disembarking. Edmure Tully has also sent word that the Riverlander army has arrived at Winterfell and rides north. Good. It's going to be a hard fight. We'll need more forces to go up against the army of the dead, but likely it will take some time for our foe to gather their forces for the assault. Hopefully, at least.
However, rather than directly assaulting the wall, the Corpse Lord rides his troops toward the Night Fort. It's been many years since he's walked those halls, and now it's time to return. Smiling, he places his hand on the black gate and recites his oath.
Night gathers, and now my war begins anew. It did not end with my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall be the breaker of crowns and destroyer of glory. I shall serve my master even in death. I am the sword of the darkness. I am the breaker of men's hearts. I am the cold that devours all, the shadow that devours the dawn, the horn that wakes the dead, the sword that scourges the realms of men. I pledge my life and my honor to the Night King, for this is the night, and all nights to come.
With a scream of pain, the black gate opens, allowing the army of the dead through onto the other side. Laughing, the Corpse Lord rides into the Night Fort and through the secret passages out onto the other side of the wall. Drawing his sword, the Corpse Lord rides towards Castle Black. As they travel from the Shadow Tower, Tywin and Randyll Tarly are met with the onslaught of the dead charging toward them. Drawing their swords, the Lion of Casterly Rock and the Lord of Hornhill have their men form up and prepare for the onslaught of the dead. While the dead engage the Westerlands and Reach armies, the Corpse Lord rides to Castle Black at the head of his army. The three hornblasts rise as lookouts yell downward that the enemy is approaching from the wrong side of the wall. Jaime and Rhaegar quickly have their men begin to retreat back toward Eastwatch so they can meet up with Robert and Jon Arryn. Together, Jaime, Rhaegar, and Rickard hold the rear, their Valyrian steel swords holding back the Whites and White Walkers alike. Soon, more calls rise from the east and south as the Stormlander and Vale hosts ride toward them, right as the River Lords march through the snow into the view. With the new reinforcements at their backs, Jaime and Rhaegar turn to face the enemy and charge the undead horde. Laughing wildly, the Corpse Lord rides toward Jaime and Rhaegar, his wolfskin cloak flowing around him. Silently, the Silver Prince and the Golden Lion ride toward their foe and meet him blade to blade. More and more dead pour out of the Black Gate, keeping the Westerlands and Reach occupied by the sheer press of bodies. Tywin and Randyll try to force their way toward the Night Fort, but the sheer press of the dead prevents them from getting further into the storm. Soon, Tywin falls to the undead, leaving Randyll and Kevin to take command. As a unit, Ned, Robert, and Brandon burst through the ranks of the undead, their torches and weapons bashing aside the Whites. When Rickard falls, Brandon takes up his father's sword, facing one White Walker after another. However, the Lord of Storm's End and Ned are attacked by a pair of White Walkers and killed before they can retreat. Bellowing with fury, Brendan charges into the undead and swings at anything within reach of ice. Longclaw strikes at the Corpse Lord's sword, the creature's unnatural skill allowing him to keep both Jaime and Rhaegar at bay. With a sudden savage blow, the Corpse Lord slashes open Rhaegar's horse's throat, causing the beast to scream and rear up. Rhaegar is thrown from the saddle, crashing to the ground with a thud. Not wanting the king to fall, Jaime leaps from his horse and stands over the king.
Get the king to safety.
Nowhere is safe from me, lion cub.
Growling, Jaime raises Longclaw and engages the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Over and over, their blades meet, all of Jaime's skill with the sword being focused on one objective, facing his greatest opponent. The horrible ring of Valyrian meeting the White Walker's ice sounds over and over in the battlefield. As he fights, Jaime starts to notice the creature falling into patterns. Slowly, Jaime starts to play up exhaustion, using repetitive strikes to try and make his enemy think he's won. Smirking, the Lord Commander deflects Jaime's attacks, then lashes out at him with wicked speed, forcing Jaime to retreat.
Just need to get him overextended. Just once and he's mine.
But could he do it before the Corpse Lord killed him? One last time, Jaime stabs toward the Corpse Lord's face. Smiling contemptuously, the Corpse Lord moves to knock the sword aside. Then his eyes widen as Jaime gathers all his remaining strength and slashes with Longclaw. The sword cuts right across the Corpse Lord's chest. The creature screams and disintegrates, the undead falling along with their commander. Without the Corpse Lord to keep it open, the black gate closes, and the undead are trapped on the other side of the wall. Shaking, Jaime collapses to the ground, exhaustion pulling him into its embrace. His final thoughts before he slips into oblivion is of Cat, only Cat. The Night King looks at the wall and turns away. He had been beaten, and there was no way to get past the wall now that the Corpse Lord was dead. The living had defeated him. When he wakes up, Jaime finds himself in Winterfell with Tyrion next to him.
Wake up, doozy chops. You're going to miss your own party.
What in the seven hell's he talking about?
Well, you're Lord of Casterly Rock now that father is dead. Your wife and children have come up here to celebrate our victory over the dead, along with your appointment as Lord of Casterly Rock.
Oh, well, in that case, can you help me get up and get my sword? Longclaw and I are old friends at this point.
The irony of that sword's name and our father's favorite song is rather amusing.
Jaime and Tyrion both share a laugh, then they walk down into the great hall to the sounds of cheers. Songs of Jaime Corpsebane rise even as Catelyn and their children rush to embrace Jaime. Laughing with relief, Jaime holds his wife and children close, unable to hold back his emotions. Soon, another man comes up to Jaime, holding a pin.
Lord Jaime Lannister, I name you Hand of the King.
More cheers erupt from the crowd, and Jaime finds himself staring at the king. It was all so much, he couldn't believe it. This was all happening at once. However, as he looks down at Catelyn, Jaime knows he has someone he can trust at his side.
I accept the post, Your Grace.
That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you'd like to join us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.